Hey, welcome back to your favorite Math 120E course. We're taking a look at loans in this section. So, conventional loans, the nice thing about this section is they use the same formula as the payout annuity. Okay, so for our payout annuity formula, if you remember from our last section, right there where P subscript 0 is the balance in the account at the beginning. In other words, the loan balance. Okay, payment is your monthly payment that you're going to make on that loan. R is your interest rate, and compoundings per year, and so on. T time in years. Okay, so when do we use it? Well, when we're making regular scheduled loan payments. Okay, whereas with our compound interest formula, that was when we put a principal amount in, and we just let it sit and grow. The savings annuity, that was when we made regular payments in to the account and let the interest compound. So that was this formula. And then the payout annuities and the loans, that's where we've got this formula, the payment. Notice that's to the negative NT right there, all over R over N. Okay, so let's do some examples here. This first one, Abigail can afford $200 per month as a car payment if she can get an auto loan at 3% for 60 months or 5 years. How expensive a car can she afford? And then we'll answer that second question, how much interest will she pay? So let's go ahead and write down our loan formula here, or payout annuity formula. Again, it's the same thing. All right, so the payment that she can make, there's her payment, $200 a month. We're trying to figure out this loan balance right here. So this is the question mark. All right, how much can she afford? How much car can she afford? Interest rate looks like 3%, so 0.03. She's doing this for a period of 60 months, so 5 years. So this is 12 months per year. So our compounding is monthly payment. Time is 5 years. And it looks like we have everything. So now we just punch it in. $200 a month. 1 minus 1 plus R. Oops, that's 0.03. Put that in over 12 to the negative 12 times 5 all over 0.03 divided by 12. Okay, so we punch that in. Pull up my Desmos here and pull up my scientific. So first thing, we're going to work from the inside out here. We're going to go 0.03 divided by 12. Enter. So there's the 0.0025. We're going to add 1 to that. Answer plus 1. Enter. Okay. Then we're going to take it to the negative 60. So I'm doing this part right here. Okay. I've done the inside here. I'm going to take it to the negative 60. 12 times 5, negative 60. So answer, a to the b power, negative 60. Enter. And then we've got, notice, so we have this part all done. So now we're going to go 1 minus that answer. So 1 minus the answer. Enter. And then we're going to multiply it by the answer times the 200 in front. Enter. So there's the 27.826. And then we're going to divide it by, oops, I'm going to undo that. I'm going to take the answer and divide it by, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, the 0.03 divided by 12 part, and enter. And you notice we got 11,130.6 0.47. So this ends up being 0.47 if we round that. Okay, that's how much car she can afford. That's the loan that Abigail can afford. Okay. Now, if we do that with the time value money calculator, we say, well, I can pay 200. The loan will be paid off at the end. So the future value of the loan will be 0. The rate as a percent here is 3%. Our periods, remember this is N times T, so 12 compoundings per year, 5 years. So this is 60 periods, 60 payments that we're making. This is compounding monthly, and we're going to click on what's the loan amount here. Go to fncalculator.com, click on the time value money calculator. That's annoying that we get that. This is monthly, annoying ads I'm saying. Let's see, a $200 payment. Future value of the loan is going to be 0. In other words, it's paid off after 60 payments or 5 years. So 60 payments on this thing. Click that 11130.47. 0.47 is what you get with that time value money calculator. Alright, now the second question here. How much interest will she pay? Well, let's figure out, first of all, before we figure out the interest, let's figure out how much she paid total. So what's the total Abigail paid, first of all, for this vehicle? Well, she made $200 payments for 12 times a year for 5 years, right? In other words, she made $200 payments 60 times. So we got 12,000 bucks is the total that she paid for the car, right? So the bank is keeping all that, the overpay. Remember, the loan was only 11,130.47. So the bank is keeping the difference, right? They get all that interest. 12,000 minus 11,130.47. So that's why the bank gets that 869.53. All right, that's how much the bank gets to keep. All that interest, because the bank is taking the risk on you, making your payments, paying it. Alright, so Janelle looks like here is buying a home for $390,000, paying a 24% down payment, financing the rest at 6% for 30 years. Let's go ahead and number one, part A, let's find out how much did she put down as a down payment. So part A, down payment. Well, the down payment is 24% down. So she's buying this home for $390,000, but she's putting 24% down. So times 0.24, punch that in. Looks like 93,600. She's saved up. Janelle's saved up this much money to put as a down payment. So that means she's financing the rest of it, right? So how much is she financing? In other words, what's her mortgage going to be? Well, she buys it for $390,000, but she puts 93,600 down. And so she's financing $296,400. That's her mortgage. Right? That's her mortgage loan. $296,400. So part C, what's her monthly payment? So let's punch this into our financial calculator. So she's financing, this is her loan amount, $296,400. That's her present value. We're going to figure out what her payment is per month. The future value of the loan, once she's made all her payments, she'll own the house outright after 30 years. So the future value of the loan will be 0. It says her interest rate is 6%. This is as a percent, so we're going to put in 6 right there. Her interest rate is 6%. Periods, remember this is n times t, right? N times t, 12 compoundings per year for 30 years. 12 payments per year, 30 years, 12 compounding, so 360, 30 years. Our compounding is monthly, just having a monthly payment. So the assumption is it's a monthly compound. And then we're going to click that payment. Okay. So let's go to our financial calculator here. Let's reset this thing and make sure I'm on monthly. This is for 30 years, 12 times a year, 12 times 30. Her interest rate was 6%, I believe. What was it? 6%? Yeah, 6%. She's financing $296,400 in house. I'm trying to figure out the payment. The future value of the loan will be 0 after I make all 360 payments. All right, so future value of the loan. So what would the payment be? Click on that payment, 1777.07. Notice the negative on that. So we're paying this much every month. 1777.07. 1777.07. That's the monthly payment on a $296,000, $400 mortgage, right? So part D. So if Janelle makes these payments every month for 30 years, how much will she spend on the home? So let's find out that. Let's also find out how much interest she paid the bank. Like how much did the bank make off of her if she sticks with this mortgage the whole time? So part D, what's the total she paid? And notice we got to include the down payment as well. First of all, she's making a payment, so her payments 1777.07, and she's doing that 12 times a year for 30 years, right? So 360 times, so 1777.07 times 360, and so she ends up, that's 639,000, it looks like, 745.2. Okay, that's how much her payments are. Now remember, she also put her down payment in 93,600. So not only did she pay this, but she had this down payment of 93,600 that she put down up front. So when you add those two together, this is how much she paid for the home, right? Total. So, you know, the home was 390,000, and she paid 733,000 for the home, almost double for a 30-year loan. You know, 30-year loans, they're brutal. They are brutal on the interest. So, you know, that bank is loving life because the bank gets to keep all that extra money, all that interest money. You know, so what did she pay to the bank, right? How much interest did she pay? Well, she financed. She paid this 639,745.2, right? Because she paid 1777.07 360 times. In other words, 639,745.20. That's what she paid in her payments. But I got to subtract what she financed. What did she finance it for? Well, her loan was 296,400. So if you subtract those two, the bank made 343,345.20 off of Janelle, right? That's how much the bank makes on that 30-year loan. And now you can see why the banks are the best, some of the best buildings in the community, right? That's why they got those marble floors. No, realistically though, the finance industry makes a gobs of money off of loans, right? Obviously, car loans, house loans, they're loving it if we go into debt because we're paying them a whole bunch of interest. All right, let's do an amortization schedule. So you want to take out a $140,000 mortgage. So that's our loan, okay? The interest rate on the loan, so it looks like 6% for 30 years. So let's figure out the monthly payment first of all. So present value of this, it's a $140,000 loan. What's our payment going to be? The future value of the loan after we make all of those payments is going to be 0. This is a 6% rate. We're doing this for 30 years. So 30 times 12, 360. This is compounding monthly. Okay? Compounding monthly. Make sure your mode is at the end, by the way. Always keep that mode button on end. So what would the payment be? Well, let's figure that out. Financial calculator, mfncalculator.com. Let's reset this thing. Make sure you're on monthly. We're doing this for 30 years. 30 times 12, 360. It's a $140,000 loan. We're gonna own the house outright after 30 years. After we make all 360 payments, we'll owe nothing on the house. This is a 6% interest rate. Our payments would be $839.37. 839.37. Okay, so that's our payments. So let's fill out this amortization schedule now using our financial calculator. So the beginning balance for the first payment, we owe $140,000 on the house from the get-go. The first payment is $839.37, right? We always make that same payment. We'll figure out the principal and interest after we figure out the first part, which is what's the ending balance here. So let's go to our financial calculator, and I'm going to make one payment. So notice the periods right here. I'm not going to make 360 payments. That would be a future value of 0 after 30 years. I own nothing. I'm going to make one payment. So one payment, and I'm going to click on future value right here. Okay. And now I owe, after one time, now that's how much I owe, $139,860.63. Okay, so what I did, write that down, is I owe $140,000. I'm making a payment of $839.37. I click on what's my future value if I make one payment. This is compounding monthly. If I make one payment, right? And so we did that, and we got 139,860.63. 139,860.63. That's how much we owe. That's the ending balance after one payment. 139,860.63. Okay. So how much principal was that? how much went towards the loan. So the principal would be, well, I started out owing 140,000 before I made my payment. And then I subtract after I made my payment, I owed 139,860.63. So when I subtract those two, I get 139.37. Okay? So the interest would be the difference between the payment. So I paid, so the interest, how much went to the bank? Everything else went to the bank. It only went down $139.37. That's all the balance went down. That's all that I paid off on the loan. Everything else went to the bank. So what's everything else? Well, I paid the bank $839.37, but the balance only went down $139.37. So when I subtract those two, 700 bucks went to the bank. Okay? Now we're going to do it again. So I'm going to go to my financial calculator and I'm going to say, okay, now I owe 139,860.63. I'm still making this payment of 839.37. What am I going to owe if I make one payment again? So I'm going to click on that future value. Okay. So let me go back here. So now I owe 139,860.63 at the beginning of the month. And make that payment, 839.37. I'm doing this one time. So I'm gonna figure out what's my future value. If I make that payment one time. What's my future value? Click on future value. 139,720.56. 139,720.56. Remember, I owed 139,860.63, right? From right here in red, in the upper right, at the beginning of the month. I made this payment of 839.37. So what went towards principal? Principal is the difference. At the beginning of the month, I owed 139,860.63. I paid 839.37. So, and then I owed it after I paid it, according to our calculations. Now I owe, after my payment, 139,720.56. So the difference between those is $140.07. So a little bit more this time went towards our principal. A little less than $1 more, right? So the interest here would be like, hey, I paid 839.37, but the loan only went down $140.07. Everything else went to the bank. How much is that? $699.3. Okay, and now we're going to do it again. So I owe, at the beginning of month 3, I owe 139,720.56. 139,720.56. I'm going to make a payment of 839.37. What would I owe after I make the payment? If I make one payment. So beginning of the month, I owe 139,720.56. I'm going to make a $839.37 payment one time. What's the future value? 139,579.79. 579.79. Okay. Remember, I made an $839.37 payment every time, right? So what went towards the principal here? What went towards my principal? Well, that was at the beginning of the month we owed. I gotta get rid of some of this. I'm making such a mess here. Wish I had more room. Beginning of the month, I owed $139,720.56. I made that payment at the end. After making the payment, I owed $139,579.79. So the difference between those is $140.77. That's how much it went down. That went towards the principal. $140.77. So how much is interest? Well, the interest, bank keeps everything else, right? I made an $839.37 payment. The loan only went down $140.77, so the bank keeps $698.60. Okay, and then you repeat it again. So you're like, okay, at the beginning of this month, I owe $139,579.79. I'm going to make an $839.37 payment. What would I owe? What would I owe after making? So I owe $139,579.79. I'm going to solve for that future value, $139,438.32. Oops. So what's my principal? Well, how much did the loan go down by? 139,579.79 minus 139,438.32. So 141.47. Okay. So what's my interest? Well, I made an $839.37 payment. Loan only went down by $141.47, so $697.90 that darn bank gets to keep. Okay, so that's how you fill out an amortization table. And note, the principal, see how these numbers are going up? I know we've only made 4 months worth of payments, but if you were to look at like your 358th payment, your 359th payment, and your 360th payment, these numbers will flip-flop, right? Like all of a sudden, your 750 bucks is going towards your principal, and whatever the difference is, what, $89.37 on your last payment, or whatever it is going towards the interest, right? They completely flip-flop by the end, right? So that's what we're showing here. The interest, the bank is really making a lot of that money. The interest is going down over time, right? By the end of that loan, you're paying quite a bit of your payment into the principal. That's how that works. Okay. Really appreciate you sticking with it, taking your notes today. We will see you guys next time.